Well. Cole Palmer. What a guy. What a guy. Oh, honestly, I swear, Cole Palmer is quickly becoming FPL royalty. Can you guys think of a better FPL asset this season? I really can't. When you consider price compared to points, man, like, he is just so good. Season keeper, absolute must-have player, insane. Maybe I'm overreacting a little bit because he just scored 2 assists in the last few minutes of the game for what looks like it's going to be a 10-pointer with 2 bonus points, by the way, guys. Absolutely crazy. He is unreal. I love him. I'm going to put it out there. Cole Palmer, absolute FPL legend. This is his season. This is Cole Palmer's season, and we're all just living in it. And I'm loving it. Loving every second, guys. How are you all doing today? Hope you're all doing pretty good. Game week 24 is officially over, which means we now need to turn our full attention and focus to the new game week 25. Big double game week, the biggest game week of the season so far, which is pretty exciting stuff. And yeah, I can't stop thinking about Cole Palmer. So yeah, for some reason the overlay on screen is slightly wrong because those are the wrong fixtures. Let's see if we can resolve that very quickly here. There we go, that's better. Got the new fixtures on screen. And yeah, let's talk about Game Week 25. Guys, I'm not going to do the full hour stream today. I do apologise. I'm feeling a little bit tired today. And I want to get started on Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid for tomorrow as well. So we're going to do a slightly shorter stream than usual today. And I want today's stream to be partially led by you guys. Like, what do you want to talk about today? Because there's been so many questions on the videos over the last couple of days that I haven't really been able to answer all of them because I've been quite busy. So yeah, we're going to talk about a lot. I know you guys are asking about Trent Alexander-Arnold. You're asking about various double game week players. You're asking about some players who aren't double game week players. So yeah, happy to talk about, pretty much whatever you want to talk about today, which hopefully is gonna, maybe, we'll talk about some stuff that I hadn't even thought of. But obviously we've already got a couple of videos on the channel already. Don't want to overdo covering the same stuff over and over again as well, which is always annoying. I know you guys don't want to just see the same content over and over and over again. But yeah, guys, for me, pretty good game week. Now, considering I didn't captain Haaland, you guys know what I'm like. You know how we do things here. We play things a little bit differential. When we see an opportunity to go differential, we take it. It didn't work out, I'm not going to lie, and that's 7 points dropped for me. But all things considered, after bonus points, it's going to be a score of 84 points. And I think without Haaland captain to score 84 points, I think is very, very decent. We've got a strong green arrow this week as well. I think we're up to around 140,000th in the world, so continuing the good form recently, which I'm really, really pleased about. I think over the next 2 game weeks probably will probably take me into the top 100k as well, which is pretty nice. Hopefully you guys are doing pretty well with your ranks as well and scoring some decent points. But guys, please do leave comments in the chat, and we'll talk about what you want to talk about. But first of all, I want to talk about Cole Palmer because I think he is the name on everyone's lips at the moment, for good reason. Because I know a lot of people are thinking about selling him, benching him. Now, I'm in a weird position where for this game week, if I don't make any transfers this week, I've currently got Cole Palmer starting against Man City. And I know that might sound, it might sound like not great, but he is pretty inevitable, isn't he? I mean, look at his scores. It doesn't really matter who the opponent is. How many times he's blanked? He blanked once against Liverpool. You can kind of understand why, because it was against Liverpool. I guess you could say the same thing about Man City. The blank before that was when he was unfortunately injured against Crystal Palace. Then a couple of blanks against the likes of Wolves and Everton there. But pretty much all season, he has been so consistent. So actually, whereas before I was thinking, okay, I need to figure out a way of not playing Palmer this week, I think I actually am tempted to just play him, no matter who the opposition is. And, when you got a player on penalties, you've always got a chance of getting attacking returns from a player. So I don't know if he really is a sell or not. And I think a lot of people will be looking to sell just because he does blank in Game Week 26. Look, City away followed by blank, that is not a great pair of fixtures or lack of fixtures for any player, and I totally get that. But is there a scenario in which we can bench Palmer? I think if you can bench Palmer for 26, I think at that point, he becomes a season keeper. If you do actually need to start making some changes this week, and that involves removing Palmer, then I definitely do understand it. But I think if you can just, for me personally, so for Game Week 26, I'm going to have 2 Liverpool players blanking. And I'm going to have Palmer and Porro blanking as well. So that's going to be 4 players blanking, I believe. I don't think I have any others. Yeah, it's just 4. So if I roll into Game Week 26, then we could maybe think about just selling 2, benching 2. Maybe that works. I mean, João Pedro's injured as well, so I guess I'd be down. You know, I'd assuming Taylor starts, was available, I'd be up to 11 men, which I think is okay. But I do think that Palmer at this stage is maybe a player you just hold, just for the if you can cover it for 26, then he's a season keeper. I mean, come on, let's be completely real here. This is an unbelievable FPL asset, and you know if you sell him, you are guaranteed you're going to buy him back. There's no way you sell Palmer now and go the rest of the season without him. It's just not going to happen. Absolutely no way. So, yeah, I think I'll be looking to try and hold him, to be fair. I think that's probably the best decision for me. I do want to share with you today, guys, a graphic which I found on Twitter. I can't remember for the life of me where I found it, but I want to throw it on screen because I think it is really, really interesting. It is in relation to double game weeks and blank game weeks, so we're gonna load it on screen. First of all, let's have a look at the chat. What's the chat saying? John is talking about Trent. Would you sell Trent? Do you think he plays in both? I don't think Trent plays in both, even if he is fit. Like, right now, the information we have on Trent Alexander-Arnold, and bear in mind, guys, I think the Trent situation really is one where I think you quite literally just do have to wait and find out what Klopp says, because what Klopp says is going to be a big part of what our decision is when it comes to Trent, because you know, you hope that he plays, you think that he plays, but there's no guarantee, especially with these injured players. I think even if he does play, like, he's obviously not at full fitness right now. And with the League Cup final, you know, so short time after the second Gameweek25 game, even if Trent is fit, I can't see him playing both. But does that make him a sell? No, because if you can get one game out of Trent, I think that's good enough. You know, we're talking about one of, if not the best defender in FPL, full stop. You know, clean sheets always potential, set pieces, creativity. He gives you pretty much everything you want from a defender in FPL, other than maybe corner headers, but that's more of a centre-back's job, really, isn't it? So Trent is a player you would hold. If he plays one game of the 2, that's good enough, I think. So you don't sell him. But at this point, would I buy Trent? The answer is pretty much no. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Van Dijk is the defender I'd go for right now. I'd go for Van Dijk. I think Bradley plays one game, Trent plays one game in the double game week. The injury situation, he was taken off more as a precautionary thing, but we need to wait for more information on that one. So I know a lot of people are very, very keen to, you know, get answers about Trent right now. Unfortunately, I would not feel comfortable. If I was a Trent owner, I would not feel comfortable acting on the information that we currently have. I don't think he's a sell. But I don't think he's a buy either. Just hold off on those transfers, I guess. Hold off on those transfers. So, guys, we've got a random image I'm going to throw on screen. I'm just going to actually make it pretty big. Let's make it pretty big because I found it on Twitter. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, to be honest. I just saved it on my phone. I saw it and I was like, oh, I'll save this. Because this is, and it pretty much aligns with my predictions on future double and blank game weeks based on current information. This is the current projections of what doubles and blanks we're going to get between, you know, well, after game week 29, basically. This is the projected fixtures. Now, the final results, the final fixtures will not look like this. They just won't. There's always surprises, there's always changes, and you can never predict things with 100% accuracy, particularly at this stage where, you know, we're trying to predict rounds and rounds ahead in the FA Cup. We're trying to predict cup results when we don't even know what the cup fixtures are in the future. So this will not be accurate, but I think this serves as a really nice rough guideline as to who is going to be blanking, who is going to be doubling later on in the season. So we did mention this a couple of days ago, actually, before I had this image, that when you look for potential triple captain options, I spoke about it on Sunday's video. Oh, actually, it wasn't a couple of days ago. It was literally yesterday. Time flies when you're having fun in FPL. So yeah, yesterday's video. And when we're talking about triple captain, I think it's going to be a big topic of discussion this week. Is this game week the triple captain week, or is there going to be future opportunities? Well, based on current projections, if you are looking to captain a Salah or a Haaland, and I think, when we're looking for a triple captain, we want to triple captain the best players in the game, and that is Salah and Haaland. We want to ideally use our triple captainship on one of those players. So it's a case of, okay, we've got Haaland with a double game week now. He plays against Brentford, he plays against Chelsea. Seeing that Chelsea performance, you probably think, actually, there's still a lot of weakness in that Chelsea team, and actually maybe Man City can do some damage there. And we all know that they've already done damage against Brentford just like a week ago. So yeah, we know they can do damage there. We think they can do damage against Chelsea as well. Both games are at home for Man City. So you look at those two fixtures, Brentford and Chelsea, and you think, actually, at this moment in time, that's a very nice double. It's not necessarily a typically good double. You probably hope for a double of, I don't know, Sheffield United and Luton, or maybe Burnley. This is just not going to happen. Unfortunately, you have to have everything land in your favour for something like that to happen. So I think this is pretty much as good as it gets. When we look into the future double game weeks, based on current projections, and, like I say, this is not going to be 100% accurate. It really, really isn't. But this is going to be a good rough guide to use right now. If we're making predictions now on future double and blanks, this is what we would use. So this gives us a Man City double game week. The only other one is going to be in game week 37, where Man City will play Fulham and Tottenham, both away from home. It's okay. It's okay, but it's not guaranteed. So what do you prefer? Haaland guaranteed 2 home games against Chelsea and Brentford, or maybe Fulham away, Tottenham away? Think I prefer this one. When we look at Liverpool, I would say it's slightly worse. Aston Villa away. That's their game week 37 fixture. Doesn't look ideal. Maybe Fulham away as the other fixture there as well. Is that the kind of game week you want to play a triple captain on a Salah? Maybe. We also have game week 37, the fact that we often see rotation. To be fair, I don't know if a few people have said about game week 37, they're a bit worried about rotation. I think particularly for, your big teams, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, there's every chance that by the start of game week 37, there's a 9-point swing between the start of game week 37 and the end of game week 38. There's still going to be decisions to be made in terms of who's going to win the Premier League, who's going to come top 4, blah, 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 blah. By the start of game week 37. I can't see the season being done and dusted by then. So I don't know if we should expect rotation necessarily in game week 37 for some of the bigger teams. It's often teams with nothing to play for, often mid-table teams where we see the rotation. But hopefully, guys, by this point, and I think this is the kind of seasons where we can afford to essentially just pick from big teams. Like, very few, I know you guys are probably in the same situation as me. Whereas you look at your team and you're like, I don't really have any players from lower table teams. We're looking at Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle, Spurs, and maybe one other player. In my case, this is Stupinian, So I think this is a season when you can afford a lot of players from big teams. And I think it will be very easy, actually. And a lot of people talking about wildcarding potentially into a game week 37 bench boost. I think it's actually going to be easy this year to just naturally have a lot of these players. I mean, it will be the big teams that double in 37, with the exception of Arsenal, who are more likely to double in 34. Obviously, Arsenal are out of the FA Cup, so their fixtures are going to be slightly different. They do have an open slot in 34, which a lot of the bigger teams won't have an open slot in the midweek of game week 34, because that's an FA Cup slot. So Arsenal looking likely to game week 34 double. I think that's a potential free hit. And then 37 looks like the bench boost week, really. And I don't know if you're actually going to need a wild card to go into the bench boost this year, which is actually quite handy, because you're already going to possibly have 2-3 Liverpool players, 2-3 Man City players, 2-3 Newcastle players, 2-3 Spurs players. We're probably going to have some Wolves players by that point as well. Solanke from Bournemouth. And when you start adding all these players together, you'll actually find, Newcastle as well, Man United. When you add them all together, you kind of figure, Chelsea as well, by the way. Chelsea there as well with a projected double in 37. You kind of think, actually, yeah, we're already going to have all of the players ready to bench boost already, right? So I like the look of Game Week 37 for bench boost a lot. I think I prefer 34 for a free hit because you're going to have to free hit out Spurs players because it looks right now like they might blank in 34 alongside, I believe it's Fulham. It looks like they might blank in 34. And we've got players like, you know, Arsenal, you'll want to triple up for Arsenal, whereas you might not necessarily want the triple up around that 34 fixture. Aston Villa, Brighton, Spurs, Man United in 37. Probably not going to want to have up too many Arsenal players going into the very end of the season. You know, particularly if Everton are still in a relegation battle as well in the final day. It's going to be a little bit of a tough game. Might shut up shop a little bit. But a free hit in 34 also allows you to kind of double up on Palace or Everton, or Sheffield United. They have like a potential double game weeks as well, but it's going to be a small one. It's going to be a small double game week. It's not looking like it's going to be a big one anymore. We did mention that last week that 34 double game week is not going to be the big one anymore. It's 37 that's going to be the big one now. So yeah, definitely some consideration needs to be made for 34. I think the Spurs, if they blank in 34, that could be a bit of a banana skin for some people. I think ideally, particularly if we find Spurs double in 36 and 37, you're probably going to want triple Spurs. Probably looking at Son, Richarlison, Udogie, triple up, something like that. I know we're way ahead of ourselves now, but it's worth thinking about. And you want those Spurs players for the you know, potential 2 doubles in a row, but perhaps don't want them for 34. Chelsea as well, potential 2 double game weeks in a row, away against Arsenal in 34. So it's not blank, but it's away against Arsenal. So you might not want to you know, have Chelsea players for 34, but you will very much want them for 36 and 37. So I think that is one way that free hit lends itself to 34. I know a lot of people are going to free hit in 29, and that's absolutely fine. But just to put this one out there, if you go for, you know, if you start building towards, after game week 30, 31, you start building towards triple Chelsea, triple Spurs perhaps, or maybe double and triple or double and double, and then free hit all of those Spurs and Chelsea players out for 34 and focusing on those double game week players for 34 on your free hit, then you have them ready to go for those final 2 game weeks. Well, final 2 out of 3 game weeks, which could be pretty nice. So yeah, thought this was really interesting. Wanted to share this graphic with you guys. Again, I have no idea where I got it from. All I remember is I saved it. It's on my phone, and when I was looking through it, I was kind of working out for myself where fixtures are likely to go and not go. I was like, actually, yeah, this is pretty much accurate. So yeah, thought I may as well share it with you guys. I'll probably do one of my own at some point in the next week or so, particularly when we get the fixtures results from the next FA Cup round in game week 27. And we'll update you guys with a probably more accurate version of this. But I think it serves as a really rough guideline. If you're trying to figure out where you're going to play your chips, it's kind of nice to know these things. Because like I say, a lot of people will be going for a game week 29 free hit. Is that going to damage the prospect of doing a 34 free hit and being able to have those Spurs and Chelsea players? Not for game week 34 because you're free hit, but around that, after that, I think it's definitely worth considering. Of course, if you've got a wild card in hand, you can always do like you can dead end into 34 as well. If you're able to save your wild card beyond game week 34, you know, maybe play it in 35. So you go into game week 34 with no Chelsea, no Spurs, and then game week 35 play that wild card. I think that works pretty well. So yeah, Linus says, oh man, I didn't even see this far ahead. Yeah, look, you're not expected to. No one's expected to see this far ahead. I don't think many people are, to be fair. I personally love the kind of planning aspect of FPL and kind of trying to work out how things are going to go down in the future. I know Ben Krellin is like known as like the god of planning and fixtures, but I sort of, you know, maybe I'm like an apprentice, you know, I've only really taken an interest in it over the last 3 or 4 years. Ben's been doing it for forever. But yeah, no, I'm definitely getting more involved in the fixtures and the planning and seeing how things are going to look way in the future. And yeah, it excites me. And it's a really nice edge. It's a really nice edge to have. So guys, not going to say any more on this one. Like I say, this will not be 100% accurate. It probably won't even be 90% accurate. It'll probably be about 60% accurate after game week, 30, 34. It'll be like 60% accurate, but it's still a good rough guideline, and I think that's useful to know when we're thinking about whether we should play our chips now or later. But particularly in the triple captain, I think really does lend itself to this game week. There will be another opportunity in 37 if you don't have any other chips planned for 37. But I think this is the one. I think this is the one. Triple captain, Erling Haaland, let's go. I think it's a really nice game week for him, particularly, again, having seen that Chelsea performance today, still showing some fragilities. Bearing in mind the situation Crystal Palace are in at the moment, and they still gave Chelsea a really, really good game all the way up until the end. So, there we go. Let's throw that off screen now, guys. Feel free to go back 10 seconds, take a screenshot, save it on your phone, whatever you like. Anyway, shall we go back to answering your questions like I said I would at the beginning of the stream? That's what we're meant to do, right? So, Hyper FNBR says, Watkins to Nunez, already have 6 players blanking out of my 15. What do you think? I don't think I would transfer Watkins out to Nunez at this point. I think Watkins to Darwin was a move to make last game week, kind of hoping that Man United would do well against Aston Villa, which they did, and also hoping Fulham away. Fulham away is not the perfect fixture. It's okay. Like, if we look at the defensive numbers, let's throw Fantasy Football Hub on screen, guys. Of course, if you want to check out Fantasy Football Hub, make sure you click the link in the description. It really helps out the channel. And let's have a look at some teams here. So let's go defensive. We'll go last 10 game weeks. We'll go per appearance and have a look at non-penalty expected goals against. Actually, we want per appearance, so I have to be XGC, just in general XGC. So Arsenal way out on top, by the way. But Fulham, when we go home only, so Fulham, when they play at home, actually, like, they're not, like, terrible. This is a mid-table defence. Now, if you're playing Fulham at home, it's kind of a different story. They're right towards the bottom. But when Fulham at home, they're not too bad defensively, or they haven't been this season. And it's not like a great fixture. It's an okay fixture. And you probably back Watkins to get one FPL return in the game against Fulham, but you're not expecting huge amounts. The problem is with Watkins, and I say this as someone who sold him in 24, is you are going to want him back. You really, really are. After Fulham away, we've got Forest at home, Luton away, Spurs at home, West Ham away, a game in which Aston Villa will be playing. Aston Villa will not be blanking in 29, which is a very fortunate position for them. But when you kind of look at it like that, you look at some of these defensive, they're playing. Luton, sitting around there. Oh, this is home only. Need home and away. Luton, same position, regardless. So Luton all the way down there, right towards the bottom of the expected goals conceded table, as are West Ham, as are Spurs. And the other team was Forest, who actually have pretty decent defensive numbers, but they just don't keep clean sheets. They do. Nottingham Forest, their defensive numbers are actually surprisingly okay, but actually they just cannot, for the life of them, seem to actually keep the ball out the back of the net, which is a bit of an anomaly. But still, like I say, Luton, West Ham, Spurs in that run, these 3 fixtures are 3 of the best fixtures you can really get as an attacker. So, yeah, you're going to want to have Watkins back. Really, game week 26, ideally. I think you can maybe get away with not having him in game week 25, particularly if you've got the likes of Darwin or Haaland, these other forwards that are expected to do very, very well. After that, it's got to be Watkins time again. It really has. And I myself will be buying Watkins back for game week 26. I've sold him in 24. I'll be buying him back in game week 26. I do think he is that important. I do think he is that good. He's obviously one of the highest scoring players in FPL. And he's got some absolute blinder fixtures, including playing in the blank game week 29. So it's really, really important that we don't underrate Watkins. And I think if you haven't sold him already, you're maybe one game too late. The real advantage was the 2 game week period of, selling Watkins to Darwin was, Darwin against Burnley, Darwin the double game week. You're guaranteeing you're going to make the transfer back. You've already lost out on the game week 24 points. So is it worth it now? I don't know. Particularly, it's 2 transfers used. If you don't have 2 transfers to use, I mean, particularly if a lot of people are really going to struggle for game week 26. They really are. Because a lot of people have like double Spurs, 1 or 2 Chelsea, and then maybe on double or triple Liverpool, you know, game week 26 is going to be, you know, you've got Luton as well. Game week 26 is going to be rough. It's like, I know everyone speaks about game week 29 being this really terrifying blank game week and everything like that, but I think game week 26 has kind of been ignored as actually a potential banana skin. So if you are bringing in more Liverpool players, more Luton players this game week, you've got to be aware that it might actually take a hit or two to remove them again just to get a starting 11 for game week 26, and at which point, if you are, you know, removing Watkins now and bringing him back in for a hit in game week 26, which you probably will be doing, then at that point, was it worth it? You know, spent 2 transfers, lost points from the minus. How much faith do you have in Darwin Nunez to dominate game week 25 that you will just do a hokey cokey on Watkins and potentially have to take hits in order to do that? So I think Watkins is an absolutely fine pick for game week 25. He's not perfect for 25. Obviously, the only perfect players are really the double game week players. You can maybe throw Arsenal players and double game week players. That's really what we want to focus on this game week. You maybe say Brighton players might do okay if you've got Pascal Gross, Purvis Stupinian. Maybe they're kind of interesting for this game week. Maybe Spurs players against Wolves. It's okay. It's okay. Super chat from William says, thoughts on Gordon ahead of Palmer this week? If I had them both, I don't know who I'd play. Honestly, I mean, I think people will naturally gravitate towards Gordon, but again, if we go back to, oh, have I been logged out? Been logged out of Hub. Now we're back in. So if we go back to the defensive numbers from Premier League teams, we can have a look at Bournemouth, and you can kind of see actually they're not too bad defensively. They're really not. Let's go per appearance. So Bournemouth currently tracking at over the last 10 game weeks as the 3rd best defence in terms of expected goals conceded. The 3rd best defence in the Premier League. They're only just behind Man City in terms of expected goals conceded. So when we're thinking Gordon versus Palmer, a lot of people will look at the Bournemouth game and say, well, Bournemouth is much easier than Man City, so obviously it's Gordon, right? But Palmer, I think we would all agree, is the better FPL pick. He's on penalties, playing against his old club. And when you look at the numbers, actually, there's not too much difference between a Bournemouth and a Man City right now. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we can only look at the numbers that are in front of us. Like, this is it. We all know that Man City have conceded goals this season. We all know that Bournemouth have been doing pretty well this season. So maybe it shouldn't be as surprising to see that their defensive numbers are more similar. You'd maybe say that Edison is a better goalkeeper than Neto, perhaps, and therefore, you know, even if you can generate good XG against City, then you might not necessarily score those goals. Edison might make the saves. There's arguments there, but I just think that Palmer at this point is just so inevitable. And Chelsea turn up against the big teams. And, you know, you could credit where credit's due. They are absolutely useless against the mid-table teams, but you know, put them up against a tough opposition and they often do turn up. We've seen that a couple of times this season. We didn't see it against Liverpool, in fairness. But yeah, if you go back, like 4-4 against Man City, they beat Spurs 4-1. Or everyone remembers that game. 2-2 against Arsenal. Beat Newcastle 1-0 early on in the season. They've had a couple of stinkers as well. Like you could say that Newcastle game, that Liverpool game, maybe stand out as where they haven't done so well. But I do think Chelsea still just, to me, they feel like a team that can turn up against the bigger teams and just absolutely bottle it against the mid-table teams. And that, I feel like that has kind of been the theme of their season. They're more often than not against a big team, they'll do well. You know, Aston Villa in the FA Cup, big team, big game, tough game, turn up. So I think that Chelsea can potentially get something from the Man City game. I mean, if it's a 4-4, you know, if we get another 4-4 draw, you're going to want to have those Man City attackers, and you're going to want to have Cole Palmer in your team as well. So, yeah, I don't think Cole Palmer should be completely disregarded this game week. Linus K with a super chat says, is Watkins to Tony for free worth it, Dan? I already own Haaland and Darwizzy. Not convinced. Again, you're going to want to own Watkins. I think as soon as this game week is over, Watkins becomes the better pick of the two. And when you look at Tony's fixtures, this week is, you know, it's a double game week, yes. But Where's Tony? He's going to be at the bottom because he hasn't played very many games yet. If you look at the double game week, it's Liverpool and Man City. That's kind of tough. We've got Arsenal in 28 as well. I like West Ham. I like Chelsea. I like Burnley as fixtures for him. But over this period, who do you think scores more points? Watkins or Tony? I wonder what the points predictions Tool reckons for forwards between now and game week 29. Tony or Watkins? He's putting Tony ahead by actually a fair distance, to be fair. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. Well, the points predictor tool reckons that Tony is going to outscore Watkins over this 5 game week period. So maybe that helps answer your question. But honestly, I think I prefer, after this game week, I think I prefer Watkins. Personally. Penalty effect is also a thing, I guess. So I'm not sure, Linus. There's a bit of a coin toss scenario. Iwakura says start Palmer or Gross and Dubravka or Areola. I would start start Gross. I would start Gross. I think against Sheffield United, and he's on penalties and free kicks. I know Palmer is as well, but I think we spoke about Palmer versus Gordon and how the fixtures that they have are maybe actually more similar than you'd think. When we look at Sheffield United, we are looking at the opposite end of the table. Sheffield United all the way down here in terms of expected goals conceded. So you would expect Gross to do well there. Gross, decent underlying numbers. Like I say, penalties, free kicks, corners. There's lots of avenues to get points. And we know Sheffield United are a team typically a little bit vulnerable against set pieces. If Gross is taking those set pieces, there's good potential for points there. So I would play Gross ahead of Palmer. In terms of Dubravka versus Areola, that's an interesting question. Let's have a look at the points predictions. I know it's a bit of a cop-out, isn't it, just looking at points predictions. But yeah, let's have a look anyway, because I'm curious myself. So, Dubravka predicted 3.9 against Bournemouth. And Areola, I mean, we all watched the game at the weekend for West Ham. I wouldn't be surprised to see him quite low. Yeah, 3.4, even though it's against Forest. So maybe that helps answer the question, Dubravka. I think both teams will concede, but Dubravka are always fancy for more saves. Kabalash says heading with 7 double game weeks. Is that good, Dan? Kabalash, I think it's too good. I've spoken before, I think if you have too many double game week players this week, you might struggle for game week 26. And over the pair, and I'm really trying to focus on 25 and 26 as a pair. I think more people should probably think that way. Because they are a pair, really. Because of that Liverpool blank in 26, Luton blank in 26. Any gains you might make in 25 could immediately be pulled away from you in 26 if you are overcommitted on Liverpool and Luton, unless you're wildcarding, unless you're free hitting. And of course, that potentially throws up even more problems, because that might mean that you struggle to navigate game week 29. So I think it's going to be a really interesting time of the season. I'm super curious to see if those with a lot of double game week players, it actually pays off this game week or not. Don't know if it will. Genuinely, I think we'll probably be in a better position to judge it after game week 26. And if people are using chips in 26, then we won't even be able to judge it until game week 30, really, or 29. Super curious. And that's why I really think, guys, if you find that you only have 5 double game week players, I think it's enough already. It's already decent. Yeah, because you're going to have your double game week players, and then you might have some Arsenal players there as well against Burnley, which is very, very good as well. They could outscore a lot of the double game week players. You might have Stupinian could do well against Sheffield United. You might have Watkins might do well against Fulham. So actually, going big this double game week, is it overrated? Potentially. I think 5 is enough. So yeah, 7 double game week players is great. It really is. But what happens in game week 26 would be my question. FPL Meerkat says, if I don't own Haaland, is it worth triple captaining anyone else? Not this game week, I don't think. I mean, Darwin always has the numbers, but he can never actually fulfill those numbers. On paper, Darwin looks like a great alternative triple captain option. I mean, I can't recommend anyone bet against Haaland this week, let's be real. 250% effective ownership, here we go. But yeah, like we were saying earlier, later on in the season, we've still got potential doubles for Salah and Haaland in 37. We'll see what happens there, I guess. But yeah, if you're not playing another chip in Game Week 37, then there's a potential triple captain option there. I would save it for a Haaland or a Salah, though. Maybe Solanke, 28. Good fixtures. Probably you can't get too much better than that in terms of fixtures in 28 for Solanke, to be fair. Janania says start 2 out of Porro, Estupinian, Gabriel, and Bell. I wouldn't start Bell. I wouldn't start any Luton defender that doesn't have attacking threat, i.e. Doughty. Porro I'm not convinced by at the moment at all. Estupinian and Gabriel would be the 2 I would play, personally. We'll have to go through that on the deadline stream with the bench list, of course. People asked about Trent. I did mention it earlier. I'll say it again. I wouldn't make any decisions on Trent right now. We need to know if he's training. We need to know what Klopp is saying. Right now, my feeling is that Trent probably plays one of the 2 games. Starts one of the 2 games. But yeah, there's so much information that could come in the next 5 days. It's just not worth making a decision today. I would be prepared to potentially sell Trent, but I don't think you're going to have to. I certainly wouldn't be buying Trent. We'll leave it there. Well, I'm not going to do too many questions about who to start and who to bench right now. I think we'll save that for later on in the week, to be honest. It's too early. It's too early to make those final benching decisions. Transfers decisions and players to look out for and stuff like that, I think is well worth talking about now. But final benching decisions, we don't need to be making that until at least after the press conferences happen. Tommy Tomcito is his best defender to sign instead of Porro. Really, really tough question. I think Alfie Doughty is probably up there. Outside of that, it's rough. I mean, Aston Villa, you maybe go for a Pau Torres, but Aston Villa's form hasn't been great recently. You can maybe go early now on a Bournemouth defender, maybe a Senesi. Bournemouth don't have perfect fixtures, though, in the immediate future. If we just look at Senesi quickly. Newcastle this week, then Man City. After that, it looks good, though. We've got 27 Burnley, 28 double game week. So Senesi is going to be really nice for 27 onwards. But yeah, he doesn't really solve any problems in the near future. Alternative is going for a Reguilon. 4.4 million. I believe he's still 4.4 million. Yep. He is taking set pieces for Brentford, which is pretty nice. We know Brentford love a set piece. Liverpool and Man City double game week. It's a bad double game week, let's be real. After that, West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal, all teams that are capable of scoring goals. So clean sheets don't look great for Brentford. I'm not going to lie to you. But you've got a double game week now, and you've got a fixture in 29 against Burnley, which is a nice one as well. So double game week this week, no blanks. Again, there are weaknesses to so many of the defender picks at the moment, to an extent where I probably would not be focusing my transfers on defenders at this moment. Vrish Bob says, Nori from Gameweek 26 will be great. Yeah, if he can nail down a spot. Wolves are a decent shout for defenders. I'd maybe have a look at Dawson as well. Ballon Dawson himself. Totti is 4.4 as well if you want to go cheaper. Spurs this week, so you don't really want him for that. Newcastle 27, you probably don't want him for that. But around that, you've got Sheffield United, Fulham, Bournemouth. Not too bad. Not too bad. Atras says Barkley, yes or no? I guess yes, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. Anurag says Haaland triple captain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Same old says, hey mate, would you play Doughty instead of either Gabriel or Trippier this week? I play him ahead of Trippier, I think. I think I play him ahead of Gabriel. But ideally, you don't want to bench any of those players. Reese says Darwin over Solanke. This game week, yeah. Probably. After that, Solanke from game week 27. Get Solanke from game week 26 because Darwin doesn't even play. I don't know. Would I swap Solanke now for Darwin? I'm not sure I would. So we've got Newcastle up next, which is a great fixture for an attacker. We've got Man City after that, which is... Then after that, Burnley, and then a double game week against Luton and Sheffield United, which is an insane double game week. So I think the time to sell Solanke is maybe in the past. It might be actually worth spending your transfers elsewhere. Costa says, what about Maguire? Hey, he's going to come back into fashion, but I think Luton will score against United. I think United have a good chance of scoring a couple of goals, but I think Luton will score one at least. Ryan says, should I bench boost over triple captain if my bench is good? It depends how good. If your bench is like seriously good, then yeah. But I think Game Week 37 is going to be an interesting opportunity for a bench boost. PWF says, is it worth going early on Porro to Doughty? I don't think early transfers are ever worth it. Unless you're just desperate for team value. Not really my style. But yeah, I definitely prefer Doughty to Porro as an FPL asset right now. But remember, he blanks in 26, so don't kind of sell yourself into a corner you don't want to be in. Jono says, you probably already covered this, but I feel like we were kind of unlucky with the Jota captain punt. Yeah, maybe. I actually didn't think Liverpool looked that great in the first half against Burnley. And yeah, it was interesting. Haaland scoring 2 goals like right at the end of the game. It felt like it was going to go well, but then it didn't. But hey, that's part of the game, man. Thrill TV says, hi Dan, hope you're well. Thank you very much, I am. Roll on next game week. Indeed. Need advice, which defender to sell, Robbo or Trippier to bring Haaland in? Many thanks. I think I would sell Trippier. I know a lot of people are bullish on Trippier at the moment because he scored FPL points recently, but I look forward and I think, Newcastle were just so bad defensively. 6.8 million is just not worth it. Robertson has a double game week, obviously. But yeah, Arsenal away in particular, that's not a game week you want a Newcastle defender for. Game week 29 against Palace, oh, that's great. But wait, Newcastle are probably going to blank in that game week. So I think Trippier is actually a great player to... a cash cow player that you can sell at the moment. I wouldn't feel any pressure to keep Trippier right now if you need to free up some budget, free up some money. Gabriel says, odds on wildcard in game week 27, or Gabriel, should I say? Too used to the Arsenal Gabriels. Odds on wildcard in game week 27. For me, I think I'll probably wildcard in 27 or 28. Haven't decided yet. Maybe 27. Maybe 28. I don't know. I can't decide. Yeah. Let's say 27. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to wildcard at some point around there. It'll be 27 or 28 I'll wildcard. I'm pretty sure about that right now. Linus says, hey Dan, when do we find out who blanks in Game Week 29? We'll find out before the Game Week 27 deadline. I know we want the information earlier, but we just can't have it. Yeah, it's about the next FA Cup round, which takes place between the Game Week 26 and 27 deadline. So as soon as those FA Cup games are done, we can start making we can make perfect predictions. Not even predictions, we'll get confirmation of who blanks in 29, and we can start to make some really nice predictions about later on in the season as well. Honestly, Game Week 27, the reason I like 27 for a wild card so much, 27, 28, is because we will have so much information by that point. So much information. And we'll be able to start making some really nice predictions about doubles and blanks all the way until the end of the season, which is going to be so handy for setting up our team. Really, really handy. Yes. What else we got? What are we doing with Trent? Keeping him until we find out more information is what I would say. People asking, is it worth selling Porro to Region or whoever else? I don't know if it's worth selling Porro. Honestly, the defenders on offer right now are not great. You know, you think you're selling Porro and upgrading him, but you're actually just making a sideways transfer. Doesn't really seem worth it when there's so many great midfielder and forward transfers we could be making at the moment. I would save your transfers rather than spend them on defenders. The only defenders I really love at the moment, I guess, are Van Dijk. Even he blanks in 26 and likely 29 as well. I'm not really sure what other defenders I really like at the moment. You know, you might be annoyed or frustrated with the ones you have already. Believe me, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And I think that's probably what you'll find when making defender transfers. And that's kind of been the theme of this season. People have been trying to make defender transfers, switch to different defenders, and actually, you know, finding they're no better off after doing it. Trust me, I sold Gusto for a Stupinian thinking the grass was greener. It was not. It really wasn't. That worst transfer of my season. I swear. Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it. But there we go. Any more final quick questions, guys, before we wrap up? Let's Let's bring up the price changes before we do. See who's going up and down. So, Diogo Jota is set to go up in price tonight, just in case you guys are in danger of getting priced out. Alvarez down tonight, Elise down, Zinchenko down, Akanji down. These are all likely to happen tonight. On the other side, tomorrow, Petrovic, interesting. Adebayo, Ake. And down, Charlie Taylor. Good to go down to 3.9. Gordon to 6. What's crazy is that Cole Palmer is, based on current trends, set to go down tomorrow. Unbelievable. You know, people selling Palmer, you don't deserve him. You don't deserve him, man. When he gets his 15-pointer against Man City in 25, you're going to be buying him straight back again. Well, you're not because you blanks, but the point stands. Probably wrong about that anyway, to be fair. Thoughts on Neto? Yeah, he's okay. He's not bad. He's not bad. I think I prefer Hwang if he's available. Rui says, who will play 29? I recommend you go check out my chip strategy video I uploaded last week. If you're wondering about chip strategy and blanks and doubles and stuff like that, we go over a lot of it. There, we did have a graphic on screen earlier this stream as well, to be fair, about potential doubles and blanks in the far future and the near future, to be fair. What else? A lot of these questions are super specific to people's teams, so maybe we'll leave those. Missandinho says, what do you think about Salah's minutes? I think he'll be very fortunate to get anywhere near 90 minutes over the double game week. Very fortunate. So I wouldn't even think of Salah as a double game week asset, not even nearly. But, you know, to be fair, Salah's a great asset in a single game week. So, but yeah, no, I think Salah will be very, very carefully managed. That's assuming he even can return to training this week. He's due to return to parts of training either this week or next week. So really are cutting it very, very fine. Surely there's no way he starts both games. I know he's Salah, but come on. It's not really an injury that you can rush a player back from. You know, danger of reoccurrence, big games coming up for Liverpool as well. You know, League Cup final, back into the FA Cup. Tougher games as well coming up as well. Would you really, you know, risk Salah against Luton when you know you've got Chelsea in the League Cup final a couple of days later? Don't know. With this particular injury, I'm not sure. Linus says, is Alisson going to play this week? Yeah, he should. I don't see why not. He was only ill. He'll be back, no problem. Saka price change? I don't know if Saka will change in price. It's mostly double game week players looking likely to change in price. We could do a search on Saka. Let's do a search on Saka. Saka, yeah, he's actually, nowhere near a price rise. Thing is, Saka, people keep selling Saka. They just do. Like, Saka keeps scoring points. People keep selling him. People keep doubting him. So he's not going to rise in price. And there we go. Miss Endino says, yeah, but maybe start against Luton. Why? Why would you start Salah against Luton? He's not going to be needed in that game. And if he is, you know, maybe he gets a bench appearance. Maybe, anyway. Jesus to Tony, worth it. And then Solanke for his double game week. Yeah, Nikhil, I like that. Sounds good. McLaughlin says Areola was sacked off that last game. Fleck and double looked better. Yeah, valid. TSH says, think I'll transfer Bowen in for 26 and 29, but not happy about it. If you're not happy about it, you could go a bit cheaper and go for Mohamed Kudus instead. Because I wouldn't be happy about picking West Ham players right now. I'm not going to lie. Kangay says bench boost Areola, Gordon, Palmer and Taylor. No, I don't think I would. Don't think I'd bench boost that. Yeah, doesn't seem worth it. Like we spoke about earlier, Bournemouth are a decent defence. We know Man City are a decent defence. West Ham are just shot at the moment. And Taylor, we don't even know if he's going to start. So, yeah, I don't think I'd bench boost that. It's an interesting thought, but yeah, triple captain time for you. Who's the best midfielder? 7 million for game week 25 and 26. For both. I mean, maybe Pascal Gross? If João Pedro is going to be injured that long, Pascal Gross could be interesting. I think about it. In which game week to sell Darwizi? For me, straight out in game week 26. As soon as he blanks, he's gone. For me. Watkins back in. Let's go. Will I triple captain Haaland this week? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, boring for me. I know. But sometimes boring is it's boring for a reason because it's just a sensible thing to do. Bowen to Jota, yeah, I like it. Jesus to Tony, we spoke about that already. Richarlison or KDB, I prefer KDB. Spurs or Newcastle this game week, prefer Spurs actually. Prefer Spurs. But I mean, I don't think either Spurs or Newcastle are necessarily must-have players this week. Who would you sell Trent to if he's confirmed out? Reguilon, Doughty, Van Dijk, maybe a Wolves defender potentially. It depends if you're trying to prep for 29 as well. If so, maybe Aston Villa or West Ham. But yeah, do you really want to go there at this stage? Maybe Reguilon. And then bench him for the tough games, which is pretty much every game week. But you can start him this game week at least. Maybe bench him in some of the future game weeks. Reguilon, I think, looks like a nice pick at the moment. I have to admit. Maybe Doughty, if you like the look of the double in 28 as well. Maybe Senesi again. We spoke about Senesi earlier, but he doesn't play in 29. Yeah. I do like Senesi as a pick though. Probably will have him on my wild card. Right. I think we'll leave things there, guys. We've been going almost an hour. We've done most of an hour. That's pretty good. Well, we need to start on. We just need to start work on buy, sell, keep, avoid, guys. Big video tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate you guys chilling with me this evening. Make sure you do drop a like. It really does help out the channel and the stream and everything like that. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. We uploaded tier list video today. If you haven't seen it already, go check out the tier list video. And also, we did like a Game Week 25 guide. And I know you guys have got Game Week 25 related questions about, you know, which double Game Week players are worth going for, which ones aren't worth going for, how can we strategize around Game Week 25, whether that be chips or blanks after, and this, that, and the other. Yeah, really recommend you go check out Sunday's video, the Game Week 25 guide. I think it's really going to help you guys out if you do have questions around that one. But we're going to leave this one here. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed last game week. Let's get started and ready for the next one. And yeah, I will see you later, mateys. Bye-bye.